No, for Allah. So, in last session we spoke about PHP date functions. Today we will speak about PHP requires and include, and also a basic concepts of file handling, that how we can do file handling in PHP. First one, the include and requires. The include or require statements takes all the text code markup that exists in a specific file and copies it into the file that uses the include statement. What it means? Sometimes you are creating some functions or some code snippets in different files, and then we come and include that in our index file or any other files. As we did on our template editing project, we defined a db.php for connection of database on another file that's db.php, and whenever we require connection for database, we can include this file to have this variable that connects our database to PHP. Then we separated the footer section also. We separated the footer section also. As you see, they are in the same project, but now you are seeing this in a single file, yeah, in a single file. But actually these files, so the navigation on the left side and the top nav bar also comes from another file. The hello world comes from another file, but we have included them. We have included them in a single file. So the users of the include and require function is to include or to copy some code from another place to another page. How we can do this? Just simply, we need to include in test form.php at the top. If you see, I have included includes header.php. At the end, I included the includes footer.php. Why? Because my footer and my header.php contains some JavaScript and CSS files and some stylings, some prepared code source. Then I have added some other data here. If I open the test form.php, now I have included these files here. I created this, but the master page or my actual styles comes from headers and footer that I have included them, but actually they exist on another file. If you see, I put them on includes folder, db.php, footer.php and others, and then I included them in here. I've included the header.php and also the db.php whenever I need it and others. But this is the functionality of the PHP include and files. Including file is very useful when you want to include the same PHP HTML or text on multiple pages of a website. So another use is that sometimes my code is repetitive. So if I wanted to write them once again, then it takes lots of time and needs lots of energy, and that one costs me time also. So instead of that, I write my repetitive codes on a single file. Then I include that whenever I need them. Whenever I need that files, like the PHP, the DB connection files. So this statements, it's possible to insert the content of one PHP file into another PHP file before the server executes it with the include or require statement. Before my server processes the actual file or executes my file, I have included them. So this PHP form handling is on test form.php, but my navigations on the top and the left and also my footer at the end, this comes from different files. Why? Because they are repetitive. Because, and instead of writing all the time, I just spread them on different files. And then when I create a page or a part of my code or a component my project, just I include them with include or record. Both of them assume same one. So, but the difference they have, the include and record statements are identical except upon failure. So record will produce a fatal error, compile error and stop the script, but the include will only produce a warning, give warning, and the script will continue. So why this one difference? Sometimes you need to a file, it must be available to continue. It must be available to continue. On that time you should use the require instead of the include. Why? Because require will produce a fatal error, but include will produce a warning only. What fatal error? A compile error. What means the file is required. It must be available. It must be available. But when you are including, it means it's optional. It should be or not. It could be available, it could not. It's no problem. But when you are using require, the file should be available. So how? Instead of this include and the main file, let me use this. Instead of this, I say require. Require this file. If my file exists, it will load. If my file exists, it will load. But if not, it will generate an error. Let me do one mistake here. And instead of include, so I'm writing the include. That doesn't exist. The folder doesn't exist. Now, if I run this one, it generates me a fatal error. It says, firstly, one warning that include is not available. Another, I get a fatal error. Uncut error, failed opening required header.php. This file doesn't exist. So what it means that when I am using the include, it will generate me a warning only. It will generate me a warning only, and also continues my process, executes another parts. But when I am using the require, it will generate me a fatal error, but it says that it will not continue. You must work correctly on that time. So how? You must put the correct information here. Now, information is correct, there is no error. Clear on this? Yes. So, and also add some explanation. So, if you want the execution to go on and show users the output, even if the include file is missing, use the include statement. Otherwise, in case of framework, CMS, or a complex PHP application coding, always use the require statements to include a key file to the flow of execution. This will help avoid compromising in your application security and integrity, just in case one key file is accidentally missing. Including files saves a lot of work. This means that you can create a standard header, footer, or menu file for all your web pages. Then, when the header needs to be updated, you can only update the header. Include file. So what it means? You have a complex web application. Then you need to bring some changes in case of the footers and headers. If you have included this, you can change only one place. If not, you have created for all of them separately. For all pages you have footers, headers, and also menus. On that time it will take lots of time and it will generate lots of errors. So for menus, footers, headers, DB connections, or some necessary parts of your codes that is repetitive, you should use the include and require. But if your application is secure and its privacy matters, on that time use the required. If not, you can use the include. Where? Just 20 minutes later. 20 minutes later. So the syntax for include and require is the same. Syntax is the same, just the words difference. You can go to the toilet and refresh and come back. The include and require has the same syntax, and also you can use the quotations or the parentheses. The quotations or parentheses, it's upon you how you can use. You can use the include like this also, putting the parentheses. It's no problem. It will work, but if you don't put, it's also work. As there's no difference on this. Syntax for required and includes is the same. So that's the example. We'll escape the examples. Let's go to next topic. Next topic is the PHP file handling. PHP file handling. So File handling is an important part of any web application. You often need to open and process a file for different tasks. What's a file? Sometimes you need to process some text. You need to process some files that are required. Which files? You are creating a CMS or a content management system. On that content management system, you need to upload some files. You need to read some files. If you have worked with online libraries or you have worked with some CMSs of some universities or somewhere else, they are showing some text on you. When you upload or a teacher uploads some files or lectures, then the students can learn on that, on the CMS itself. How we can achieve this? We can achieve these goals using the PHP file handlings. So firstly, manipulating files. PHP has several functions for creating, reading, uploading and editing files. So what it means that we can create files in PHP, we can read files in PHP, we can upload files, and also we can edit files using the PHP. But be careful. Be careful when you're manipulating files. When you are manipulating files, you must be very careful. Why? You can do a lot of damage if you do something wrong. Common errors are editing the wrong file, filling a hard drive with garbage data, and deleting the content of a file by accident. So when you are working with files, you should be careful. Why careful? Because you may create garbage files to fill a hard drive. You have used the wrong for loop maybe, or a wrong while loop or something else on creating a file. And that file should maybe goes to infinite. When it goes to infinite, it means that it will take lots of resources from the memory to hard drives. You may create a file that's larger than your hard drive. On that time, it will generate lots of error. Or you may delete some different file mistakenly. Delete different file. Or create some files that's not necessary. Or edit some wrong files. On that time, you should be careful when you are implementing the files. So how we can do this? We have functions. As we said in functions, the real power of PHP comes from its functions. For everything in PHP, we have functions. For everything, we have functions. So for reading file, we have a read file function. For reading file, we have a read file function. The read file function reads a file and writes it to the output buffer. Reads file and writes it to output buffer. Assume we have a text file called webdictionary.txt. stored on the server that looks like this. So we have a text file. We have a text file on our server webdictionary.txt, and it has like this data. So how we can read this one? So let's create this one on our file. So let me open Notepad and create a webdictionary.txt. I have lots of files here. Let me close all of them. I don't know why it saves everything. So this one is data manipulation language lecture. It should be available. So I want to save this one as webdictionary.txt in my server folder, in the same file as we have our project. And here webdictionary.txt, save. And the text should be like this. Text should be like this one, save. Web dictionary. I don't know if it's correct or not. So how we can read this one? We can read using the read file. The PHP code to read the file and write it to output buffer is as follows. The read file function returns the number of bytes read on success. The number of bytes when the read is success. So I would read the echo read file and our file, where our file has exists. So let me check it. Yeah, we have it here. We just simply can read this one. Let me do it at the bottom of our form, and here is your time. Echo read file, then path today file. Our file is web dictionary.txt. Simply it will read this file for us. So just reload this one. Now says Ajax, XML, CSS and others. Our file is being read it. The content that our file has. Our file has Ajax, CSS, these are coming from our file. The read file just reads our file or opens our file for reading. The read file function is useful if all you want to do is open up a file and read its contents. Sometimes you need to read something. A file already exists on our server. We just want to read it. Read this. Then read files on that time useful. So we have another file handling methods also that will come on them. Today it's NF. You can read, open and read also. Or we have different topics that tomorrow Saturday inshallah we'll speak on this. So any questions on include and also file handling? In include, I think it said everything. PHP required, no file exists. I have a color. So these are the examples. So any questions? No.